Imagine a dark night. A large crowd is marching through the streets of India, wearing black clothes. On their bodies, the sound of wailing and chains being struck against bodies echoes here. Suddenly, a man in front of hundreds of people splits his forehead with a long sword. Blood gushes out, but no one is surprised, because this is considered one of the religious rituals in India. But before I tell you these interesting strange stories, please like the video and comment on which Indian ritual you find the strangest. Also, turn on the channel notifications so you can quickly be informed about new videos. India is a country with busy streets, ancient temples, and strange customs that have attracted the attention of various generations. These strange and fascinating customs all narrate stories from the distant and mysterious past. Stories that simultaneously break the boundary between tradition and modernity and reveal secrets that even make some people doubt. Stories that may be unbelievable, but each is a sign of the history, culture, and deep beliefs of the people of this land, and intriguing. So without delay, let's get acquainted with the world of India's strange customs. In many cities in India, the mourning ceremonies for Imam Hussain are held with particular intensity. The mourning processions set out, but the strange thing is that some Shia Muslims, to show their grief and sorrow, whip and injure their bodies with chains that have sharp blades attached. Some even immediately, and without hesitation, cut their own heads with swords, ensuring that blood flows from their foreheads. In fact, some parents even force their children to do this. Unfortunately, this tradition has been controversial for years, and indeed, even some religious scholars oppose it, but it still continues in many parts of India. I told you about the first strange tradition in India. Let's move on to the second one, which is human-animal marriage. You might think this is just a myth, but one of the strange traditions in India is human-animal marriage. In some villages in India, it is believed that evil spirits can inhabit the bodies of girls who are born with physical defects or early baby teeth. The only way to lift this curse is for the girl to marry an animal. Usually, a goat or a dog is chosen for this ceremony. Interestingly, the wedding ceremony is conducted in full, with dancing, music, and even lavish celebrations. Fortunately, the girl is not expected to have a sexual relationship with the animal, because this marriage is only performed as a symbolic ceremony to ward off the evil spirit. The good news is that after some time and proving the curse is lifted, the girl is allowed to marry a human. This long-standing custom, which has been extensively debated both culturally and scientifically, has raised questions such as who determines that the curse is lifted or what criteria exist for this determination. And thoroughly, the next strange custom is the Lathmar Holi festival with a twist of beating. We all know about the festivals of colors, a celebration of joy, color, and music. However, in the town of Barsana in India, this festival is held a bit more aggressively. In this ceremony, which is famously known as Latmar Holi, women attack men with long traditional sticks called lathis and beat them as much as they possibly can. The men must try to fend off the blows, but if they fail, they have to surrender and allow themselves to be beaten more. But is this level of violence really necessary? Well, this tradition not only has an entertainment aspect, but it also reflects a history of revenge and a desire to establish justice in social relationships. Interestingly, this tradition originates from the romantic tales of Krishna, one of the most beloved deities in Hinduism. It is said that one day Krishna traveled to the village of his beloved. Krishna, who was always known for his jokes and playfulness, teased the village girls and splashed color on them. But the women got angry and attacked him with sticks to drive him out of the village. Since then, this tradition has been practiced in the town of Barsana. Let's move on to the next tradition, worship of weapons. During the Navratri festival, which is dedicated to the worship of the goddess Durga, in some regions of India, on the 9th day of the festival, people also worship their weapons and war tools as symbols of power and protection. In this ritual, weapons such as swords, knives, and even modern firearms are specially cleaned and decorated, as if these items carry positive energies and spiritual forces. Many believe that this tradition has been passed down from the era of the noble Rajput warriors and is also practiced among certain groups of people. This ceremony somehow represents the deep connection between the spirit of combativeness, bravery, ancient traditions, and spiritual beliefs in India. Next is the terrifying custom of sati, an old tradition that fortunately has become illegal today, but was very common in India in the past. According to this custom, when a man died, his wife had to burn herself on her husband's funeral pyre, and this act was considered a sign of honor and sacrifice. People believed that by doing this, the woman would go directly to heaven, and in some places, they even built statues for her, like the famous Rani Sati temple. This custom is derived from the original name of the goddess Sati. Legends say that Sati married Shiva despite her father's disapproval. One day, Sati's father, Daksha, held a prayer and sacrifice ceremony to show his disapproval of this marriage. However, he did not invite Sati and Shiva. Despite Shiva's opposition, Sati decided to go to her father's ceremony and ask him why he had insulted her husband. But at the ceremony, Daksha not only insults Shiva again, but also disrespects his own daughter, Sati. Unable to endure this humiliation any longer, Sati, in an act of anger and sorrow, immolates herself in the sacrificial fire and loses her life. It's interesting to know that this custom is so deeply rooted in Indian culture that some women even proudly immolate themselves. However, the British government banned this practice in the 19th century. Although later, reports of the secret practice of this custom surfaced in the 1980s and 2002. The next drawing is of a child being thrown. In a small village in the state of India called Maharashtra, parents gather together with great excitement and joy to perform an ancient ritual. A ritual that is known for throwing children. In this ritual, parents who became pregnant after praying at the Baba Umedarga shrine throw their children from the top of a building approximately 15 meters high. Of course, the children land safely in a sheet prepared by the villagers below. Although this ritual is perceived by many of us as a dangerous and strange act, for these people it is considered a sign of hope and a deep connection with the gods and the forces of nature. In other words, the parents of these children believe that by performing this ritual, their children can have a long life and exceptional health, as their lives are under the protection of spiritual forces from the very beginning. This ritual is mostly performed by Muslims, but some Hindu families also practice it. But another story that arises from the depths of the mind and history of India relates to the Aghori sect. The Aghoris are members of a Hindu sect who worship Shiva as the supreme god and believe that he has created everything. Because of this, they do not see anything as bad. Unfortunately, this belief has led them to have no taboos in their behavior to an extreme extent, ranging from sexual aspects to drug use and excessive alcohol consumption. But the strangest custom of this sect is their cannibalism. The Aghoris usually live in cremation grounds. When someone is cremated, the Aghoris ritualistically spread the ashes of the body on themselves and meditate. They also collect floating corpses that they find in the river. They dismember the bodies and consume them raw in a ritualistic manner. Although this custom seems almost unimaginable and shocking, to us, for them it is considered a sign of crossing the boundary between life and death and achieving unity with everything. However, one of the amusing and at the same time exciting customs in India is the tradition of stealing and hiding shoes. This custom is informally practiced during wedding celebrations. In this ritual, the groom is required to take off his shoes before entering the wedding altar. As soon as the shoes are removed, chaos ensues. The bride's family, especially the brothers and sisters, try to steal the shoes, while the groom's family protects them. If the bride's family manages to get hold of the shoes, they keep them as hostages. They then demand an amount in the form of money or a gift from the groom's family to return the shoes. This custom not only serves as a joke and entertainment, but is also considered a symbol of the balance of power between the families at the wedding ceremony. The next strange custom is Manglik Dosha and marrying a tree. This is a concept in Indian astrology that relates to ancient beliefs. This situation arises when Mars, known as Mangal in Hindi, is positioned in certain places in the astrological chart. That is, in the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 7th, 8th, or 12th houses. It is said that these positions are not suitable for marriage and cause disharmony and serious problems in the couple's life. To resolve this issue, special ceremonies are held, one of which is a symbolic marriage with a tree, such as a banana tree, a sacred fig tree, or even a golden or silver idol of the god Vishnu. This symbolic marriage is an attempt to counteract the negative energy of Mars. Although the new generation does not believe in these customs, this tradition is still used in some parts of India as a way to reduce marriage problems in an effort. The next strange custom is Varuna Yajna. Agriculture is the backbone of India's economy. However, most regions of India rely on monsoon rains for irrigation and farming. Any failure to receive rain deals a significant blow to the country's economy. For this reason, the people of India place special importance on rain. Among the thousands of Indian gods, the rain god, Varuna, holds a special place. Therefore, when there is a lack of rain, the Varuna Yajna ceremony is held to appease the rain god. In this ceremony, Hindu priests sit inside barrels of water and send positive energy towards Varuna with special prayers. This act is noteworthy not only from a religious perspective, but also from a scientific one, because it demonstrates the deep connection between humans and nature and the importance of water in sustaining life. Of course, let me tell you that in some villages in India, instead of performing this ritual, people marry frogs, donkeys, and even dogs to each other to bring rain. Interestingly, this marriage is officially conducted by priests. Well, let's move on to the next custom, which is polyandry. We may have heard about polygamy, but in some regions of India, the custom of polyandry still exists, and a woman can have multiple husbands. This custom is also depicted in the famous epic Mahabharata. In this epic, the daughter of the king of Panchala, a historical region in northern India, marries 5 brothers. It's interesting to know that polyandry was especially common in areas like Kinnaur in the Himachal Pradesh province, which is near the India-China border. It also existed in some tribes in southern India, although many groups and tribes have abandoned this custom. However, some tribes, particularly in the Jaunsar region, still adhere to this custom. While the topic of polyandry has been debated and controversial historically, some believe this custom developed due to specific geographical and economic conditions of these areas, and is a sign of cultural adaptation to living conditions. Alright, let's move on to the next strange tradition. Dinga Gawar, a mysterious and interesting festival in Jodhpur. This festival is held in the city of Jodhpur, and its name means entertainment through deception. The tradition of Dinga Gawar seems very interesting and different. In this festival, statues of gods are placed all over the city, and offerings are made to them. People wear special and elaborate costumes and resemble gods, tribesmen, or police officers. But the most interesting and fascinating part of this festival is that single men deliberately wander the streets, waiting for women in disguise to hit them. The men believe that this hit brings them good luck and is a sign of marrying a suitable spouse. Therefore, on one hand, this festival has a spiritual and religious aspect, which is offering vows to gods and statues, and on the other hand, it includes an entertaining and strange custom that is a mix of humor and a prediction for marriage. Well, we've seen all these strange customs about India, but there are also some rituals in India that have symbolic meanings. For example, when they offer a coconut at the feet of a statue, they are symbolically offering their own head. This means that they are completely letting go of themselves and their ego and surrendering to the deity. Of course, the use of camphor in worship also carries a similar meaning, symbolizing the burning of the ego and the purification of the environment. For example, the reason they use the lotus flower, which is also India's national flower, in worship is that the lotus plant's leaves, due to their super hydrophobic surface, never absorb water. This symbolizes a wise person who is not affected by joy or sorrow. The paintings of Gashi in front of houses also have an interesting philosophy. In front of almost every Indian house, you see white markings. These paintings are to welcome the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity in Hinduism, and stepping on them is considered a great disrespect. Everyone knows that cows are sacred and worshipped in Indian culture. These animals are symbols of the earth and kindness. However, on the other hand, many cows, when they become old and no longer produce milk, are abandoned and not cared for. Despite this, in this country, there are 280 to 300 million cows, of which 5 to 7 million are homeless. That's why you often see cows sitting in the middle of the street, blocking the way. But the strange thing is that no one is allowed to move them from their spot. Another tradition, known as Ambubachi Mela, is related to the celebration of fertility and feminine power in India. This annual event, which takes place in the northeastern state of Assam, is a significant cultural and spiritual gathering. This ceremony, held every June at the start of the monsoon season at the Kamakya temple, is related to the menstruation period of the goddess Kamakya, who is an embodiment of Mother Earth. During this ceremony, the temple doors are closed for 3 days, and when they reopen, people receive cloths said to have the goddess's blood. However, some customs also have scientific reasons. For example, Indians believe that you shouldn't sleep facing north because you'll have nightmares. The reason is due to the magnetic properties of the North and South poles. That is, if you lay your head towards the north and stay like that for 7 or 8 hours, the magnetic force exerts a lot of pressure on your brain. Therefore, even if you don't have bad dreams, this position can affect your health and cause you to wake up feeling sluggish, sleepy, and even with a headache after a long sleep. So the best direction for sleeping is to turn your head towards the east. Another custom is placing a band or a mark on the forehead. Indians believe that this mark, which is placed on the spot between the eyebrows, enhances a person's concentration. A well-known custom regarding marriage is the 7 vows of life. Since Indians believe in reincarnation, some couples in certain regions of India not only vow to live together in this life, but also pledge to be together in the next 7 lives. But now that we've looked at this collection of strange and unusual customs of India, I'd like to know which one of these customs was the most unbelievable for you. Be sure to write your opinion in the comments and know that your feedback always inspires us to create new and exciting stories. We are also approaching the final video. If we want to summarize, I must say that India is a country with a rich culture and thousands of years of history, where its strange and diverse customs and rituals not only reflect the deep beliefs and convictions of its people, but also open a window to the past and the mysteries of ancient traditions. From throwing of children to the shocking rituals of the Agores, from beatings of Latmar Holi to symbolic marriages with animals and trees, and even polyandry. Each of these customs in some way shows the connection of Indian people with nature, their gods, and their history. But the main lesson of these stories is that in a world where modernity and tradition are intertwined, every custom and ritual carries a story of human beliefs and experiences. Stories that prompt us to reflect and ponder on cultural and spiritual values. Therefore, some of these customs may seem strange and unacceptable, but behind each lies a deep insight into history, nature, and society. An insight that teaches us that every culture has unique stories that must be understood and respected.